Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Hayward City Council meeting and welcome to City Hall. Today is March 19th, today is March 26th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order and I'd like to ask Councilmember Dan Goldstein to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you. Please rise and face the flag if you are able.
Councilmember Roach. Here. Councilmember Syrup.
Present.
Councilmember Cermeño. Mayor Salinas.
Present. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, if you can please give a closed session announcement, please.
Greetings, Mayor. The council convened at 5:30 in closed session pursuant to notice and the Brown Act, with Council Member Bonilla Jr. absent and other council members present. There were three items discussed. First, there was a discussion of labor regarding all bargaining groups, as to which the council took no reportable action. The council discussed one matter in pending litigation, the case of Ramirez-Fanua versus City of Hayward. The council moved and approved settlement in the amount of $875,000. It was moved by Councilmember Goldstein, seconded by Councilmember Cermeño, and approved unanimously with one councilmember absent. Finally, there was one matter under the title of anticipated litigation. The council discussed the matter with legal counsel and took no reportable action. That's the report.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to move on to public comment. The public comment section provides an opportunity to address the City Council on items not listed on the agenda or informational staff presentation items. The Council welcomes comments and requests that speakers present their remarks in a respectful manner within established time limits and focus on issues which directly affect the city or are within the jurisdiction of the city. As the council is prohibited by state law from discussing items not listed on the agenda, items will be taken under consideration and may be referred to staff. The City Council welcomes comments, including criticisms about the policies, procedures, programs, or services of the city or of acts or omissions of the City Council. Speakers shall not use threatening, profane, or abusive language which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of a City Council. The city is committed to maintaining a workplace free of unlawful harassment, and it is mindful that the city staff regularly attends City Council meetings. Discriminatory statements or conduct that is hostile, intimidating, oppressive, or abusive are per se disruptive to a meeting and will not be tolerated. So with that said, I do have one commented card for public comments. I know that I do have a stack of cards for another item on the agenda, the work session. So for public comment, I'd like to call upon Scott Rafferty. If you can hit the button, there you go. Red means go here. Yeah. No, hit it again. Perfect. There you go.
So more than 2 years ago, members of the Asian American community asked this council to transform its at-large election system to enable neighborhoods in your city to elect their own dedicated voices to be represented on this council. You are now, in the interim 2 years, you have become the largest city in California to elect its members entirely at large. This system is associated historically, and you don't need to go beyond the Bay Area to see this, with corruption and racism. As soon as San Francisco got rid of district elections in 1900, the railroads took over. Decades later, the Ku Klux Klan actually took over the at-large government of Oakland. They haven't had districts since then, and hardly any place else does. My county transformed, and it did mean bringing in a more diverse a body of incumbents. Younger incumbents, more incumbents of color. It also meant that some incumbents found that their reelection was easier and their jobs were more fulfilling because they were connected to communities. And every community had a voice. You now, in the intervening 2 years, the latest census data shows that there's actually a majority Asian American district. So you are liable under the Federal Voting Rights Act. But my clients haven't threatened litigation. We simply said, at-large districts are wrong, let's fix it. But you didn't tell the community. You had a series of illegal meetings, closed sessions, where you didn't post our letter, you didn't even say what you were talking about, and you did that again tonight. So we have two problems of governance, and they're both very fundamental. One is a system that really dilutes the voting power of minorities. And the other is a disregard for the fundamental concept of transparency and telling the community what you're talking about so that you can receive their direction. I think you will find that once you tell the community what the options are, that there's going to be support for having a dedicated voice. There are huge parts of this community, some of which suffer. I mean, if you look at the Enviro screen, that is your majority Asian district. Essentially, the high pollution area is the majority Asian district. And these places need a voice on the council, someone that lives with them. And however well-intentioned you may be, you need to be connected to a community, and every community has a right to an equal voice in the government of the city. So I hope that you will move forward, and your attorney seems to think that you should kick the can down the road and disregard the law. That's not going to happen. I don't threaten litigation, but I don't rule it out either. You need to cooperate and get this done for the good of your constituents. Thank you.
Mr. Rafferty, you didn't tell us what city you live in.
Excuse me?
You didn't say what city you live in.
I live in Walnut Creek in Contra Costa County, and district elections have transformed our county in the last 5 years, and particularly minority voter turnout has gone up.
Okay, that's all I asked, to see what city you lived in. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. That is last of our public comment here in the chamber. Let me see if we have someone online. We do have an online public comment, and it's Peggy Guernsey.
Good evening, council members. Approximately a month ago, I tried to contact all the council members and the mayor with information about why the animal shelter's budget had been reduced and how we could increase it. I did get a response back from Councilmember Andrews with Police Chief Brian Matthews. The animal shelter's budget was reduced 3.7% in the midst of the pandemic when all the budgets were reduced. I do not know the dates. Now that our budget has enjoyed an increase and an upward direction based on your increased salaries of 65.1% each, I respectfully request that you, 1, reinstate the 3.7% reduction for the shelter services, 2, increase their budget by at least a 10% to include but not limited to 1, enlarge the shelter, increase the spay and neuter program, update the shelter's facility, enlarge the shelter's reception area and animal viewing direction to increase animal adoptions, increase the staff to serve the public with these improvements. 6, increase the budgeted amount as these items need and are identified. I hopefully respect that our police chief and some other public constituents can get together and sit with the shelter and support this. I have seen quite a bit of public comments on the homepage in public media. I respectfully thank the council members for their work of providing an animal shelter and the staff that has been there doing it through all this pandemic. And let's make our shelter as productive as it was before. Our staff currently is trying to reduce the animal population by covering the animal cost of spay and neuter and adoption. Thank you very much. I am a 53-year resident in the city of Hayward, and I'm a registered voter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Guernsey. It's always nice to hear your voice. I'd like to close public comments and move on to city manager's comments. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a few announcements this evening. The first one is a little long, so bear with me while I read it, but very important and a huge opportunity for our young people in our community. The City of Hayward is seeking students eager to represent the interests, needs, and concerns of young people in Hayward and to provide input to elected officials of the City of Hayward, the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District, and the Hayward Unified School District. If this sounds like something of interest to you, please consider applying to join the Hayward Youth Commission. Youth Commissioner responsibilities include attending meetings, which are held at City Hall, Council Chambers, the second Monday of every month from September to June, except on holidays. And also, the Commission works on special projects that address youth issues. To qualify, students must be between 13 and 20 years old and live in the City of Hayward or within the boundaries of the Hayward Unified School District. All applicants under 18 years of age must have a parent or legal guardian consent to participate on the commission, and applications are available on the City of Hayward's website or by calling 510-583-4400 between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The deadline for submitting applications is Friday, May 30th, and applicants will be notified by email when interview times are confirmed. Interviews are one day only and are scheduled for Friday, June 7th. And our city clerk, I know, is happy to answer any questions about the Youth Commission if there are some. Second comes from our library. Please join us for a thought-provoking community conversation about AI, artificial intelligence, at the Hayward Downtown Library. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or simply curious about the future of AI, this event offers a unique opportunity to explore and exchange ideas with Professor Anthony Chow, who is director of San Jose State's University School of Information. Discover the impact of AI on our daily life. This event will take place at Weeks Park on Saturday, April 20th. We encourage everyone to sign up now on the city's website. The day will start with a litter cleanup at 8:30. Following that, we'll have free lunch for volunteers and an Earth Day community fair from 11 to 1:30. There'll be music, prizes, and an art display with entries from our K-12 Earth Day poster and writing contest. Please register in advance to receive a free lunch. You can go to the city's website and search Earth Day. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. I'd like to now move on to our action items and then to our consent calendar, items 1 through 9. Nobody has asked me to pull anything, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent items 1 through 9.
Moved by Councilmember Roach, seconded by Councilmember Goldstein, and if there are no objections, Madam City Clerk, it will unanimously pass. Thank you. Moving on to our work session. Let's see. Work session, item 9, item WS 24-005, Russell City Reparative Justice Project, work session to receive the recommendations from the Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee. And I'd like to have, I believe our Assistant City Manager, Regina Youngblood, was going to kick this off.
Actually, I'm going to make a few comments
Oh,
before she
Madam
starts.
City Manager, go right ahead. Thank you.
I just wanted to take a moment to kick off this agenda item, which has been a long time in the works, and just wanted to acknowledge the work of the steering committee and the chair, Aisha Knowles, and the vice chair, Liz Sanchez, as well as all of the members of the steering committee and also all the community members who have participated, former Russell City community members. I know this has been an effort long in the hearts and minds of this community, and we are grateful to be here this evening and thankful for their work. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our Assistant City Manager, Regina Youngblood, who has served as the staff support for the steering committee for the last 18 months, and she has done an amazing job. I know this has been a very emotional experience and process for the last 18 months, and just really grateful that we're here this evening, and grateful to Regina for her work on this effort. And also recent addition to the team, Josephine Ayankoya, who is the city's Equity and Inclusion Officer, who's been helping out since January. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Youngblood, who will sort of set some context before the steering committee presentation. And then after the steering committee presentation, I'll kind of walk through the process for the evening and just some recommendations for how we structure the conversation and what staff can assist the council with. So I will turn it over to Assistant City Manager Youngblood.
Thank you, City Manager McAdoo. Thank you and good evening, City Council and all present. I just set some context as the City Manager indicated. The Russell City Reparative Justice Project was initiated by the City of Hayward following a recommendation from the Community Services Commission in the fall of 2021. This recommendation stressed the importance of collaboration between the city, former residents, and descendants to formulate reparative justice recommendations. These recommendations are intended to address the historical impact of the forced relocation endured by Russell City residents. This work session is the culmination of a year-long process of community-led dialogue, research, and collective visioning. Through engagement efforts that included the research conducted by San Francisco State University and support from Series Policy Research, vital feedback and insights have been gathered. Gratitude is owed to the steering committee for their dedication in distilling this wealth of information into actionable recommendations. As we begin this work session, I want to express my deep appreciation for the Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee and the many former residents and descendants who participated in various components of this work, speaking for approximately 1,500 residents of Russell City and 350 households. With that, I will turn the floor over to the chair and co-chair of the steering committee, Aisha Knowles and Liz Sanchez.
And as Ms. Knowles and Ms. Sanchez come up to the podium, I just wanted to say, one, I am very happy, and I know the council is also happy, but they could not have picked two most qualified people to be the chair of this committee. And, if you allow me some grace here, two daughters of Russell City. And so I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and we're looking forward to what you present. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Salinas. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Mayor Salinas and council members, Madam City Manager and executive team members, and good evening to everyone that is present with us tonight, both in person and on Zoom. My name is Aisha Knowles. I serve as the chair of the Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee. I am joined with Liz Moran Sanchez. We are both descendants of Russell City. I'll let Liz introduce the next group.
Thank you, Aisha. Once again, my name is Liz Moran Sanchez. Together tonight, I have to thank my parents for bringing me into this world, Joseph and Sadie, and my children are being here with me. Along with them, we are not here by ourselves. We are here together with our former residents and descendants of Russell City. At this time, I would like to ask our former residents to please stand and and also raise your virtual hand on Zoom. And now I'd like to ask the descendants of Russell City to also stand with them.
And I believe it's okay to applaud, Madam City Manager, can we? I think so.
Thank you, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. And I'm going to turn it over to Aisha.
Thank you, Liz. So as you can see, we are not here alone. And we are here also while there are many that are joining on Zoom and many that are present in person. We are representing a broader community of people who are also here with us in spirit. The next slide, please. So as we transition into our 5-slide presentation, for this council work session, I would like to acknowledge the hard work of the members of the committee. And, you know, in recognizing the magnitude of this moment, to be able to have so many Russell City residents and descendants present in this space for this information to be presented to a formal government body is very important, especially considering that the City of Hayward issued an apology and now we are before you continuing or with an update on the progress that has been made. So I'd like to acknowledge steering committee members. So there are 13 steering committee members and 2 alternates. So I'd like to acknowledge Gloria Moore, Deborah Harris, Michael V. Johnson, Francesca Thomas, Michael D. Johnson, Tony Wynn, Cindy Torres, Priscilla Figueroa, Marion Johnson, Ayanna Knowles, and Carolyn Johnson. I'd also like to acknowledge Yvette Hippolyte and Rebecca Hill-Long, 2 previous steering committee members that transitioned off of the committee due to personal reasons. I'd also like to acknowledge our 2 alternates, Velda Go and Kathy Rodriguez.
The Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee members agree that reparative justice for the former residents and descendants of the Russell City community includes the following: addressing the harm inflicted, holding everyone who caused the harm accountable, placing all options for reparations and restitution on the table for consideration, and correcting the historical record. In the final analysis for the former residents and descendants of Russell City, reparative justice means repairing the harm, restoring the land, and repaying the debt.
Next slide, please. So we have been working on this for 18 months. How did we get here? It's been a process of learning and collaboration that included work sessions, public meetings, and while we were meeting in person tonight, we began this process on Zoom. We began this process during a pandemic where we had families that were meeting each other for the first time and representatives of the committee who were meeting each other for the first time on Zoom. So meeting-wise, we had public sessions or public meetings and work sessions as a steering committee. And we also met in person for the first time as part of a retreat during the pandemic. Our work was guided, so on the screen you will see a word cloud with various words in it. Liz, help share how the word cloud came to be.
A word cloud is a collection or cluster of words depicted in different sizes. The bigger and bolder the word appears, the more often it's mentioned. and the importance of it. So as you can see with this diagram above, that the bigger the words, the more they meant to. Each of the committee members was asked to give 6 keywords, and that's how we came up with this word cloud. So if you can see probably the bigger ones, but the smaller ones you can also is acknowledge, damage, payment, paid, just, straight, and so many more. But it was a really eye-opening exercise that we did during our retreat.
So this word cloud guided our work over the past 18 months. It helped provide a foundation to center us in our work. Our work wasn't done alone, so in addition to staff, we were supported by the Circle Up facilitators, a research team from San Francisco State, and the series policy research group. From the support that we received, we accomplished a lot. So based on the feedback and input of committee members during the retreat and throughout the process, the public meetings that were held where we hosted experts in their field with regards to reparative justice, there was a community survey that was drafted and released to the public where over 370 participants shared their input with us. From the survey that was distributed in person at events, by phone, via email, and just the old-fashioned kind of just calling somebody to see if they completed the survey yet. There were 26 draft recommendations that were created, and that is what we are here tonight for. In addition to the draft recommendations, as a committee, we ranked the 26 recommendations. We asked for input from the community and received that from over, I think it was 129, I can't remember the exact number, but you have that in the documents that are posted on as part of your packet for tonight. So the general overview of the community engagement process was a bit challenging at times because not everyone is actively engaged, waiting for an email about filling out information related to Russell City. So this was really an organic process that took place by us calling people we knew, reaching out to friends and family, sending text messages, calling again, so that as many Russell City residents and descendants participated as possible for those who knew about the process going on within the time frame allotted. To clarify, so there were a couple of questions that came up with regards to, is the committee presenting 26? There was a request by staff to possibly present a smaller number to you. And let me tell you why we're not doing that. We are not presenting a smaller number to you because the perspective right now is this is a work session. So this is a work session, so we did not want to narrow down any of the recommendations with the hope that this will be a continuous fluid process that allows there to be additional research, additional partnerships, and additional participation by not only steering committee members, but other organizations that were responsible also for causing harm. Next slide, please.
The path to justice for the Russell City community has 3 bullet points. Multidisciplinary, and it involves multiple stakeholders.
So over the course of time that we have been meeting as a steering committee and engaging with family members, friends, residents and descendants from Russell City, there were themes that kind of rose to the top of many discussions and meetings and of the report. And these are three of the bullet points or the items that we wanted to highlight. So the first is, this process is fluid and it involves multiple agencies. We applaud the City of Hayward for not only issuing the apology, but allocating resources for this process to move forward. It's one thing to say you're sorry, but what does that mean? So we are grateful that we are here tonight, and as part of this report, you have the draft research that was completed by the San Francisco State researchers. Hayward is an education city. You serve as a model to other cities across the United States to set a foundation, with former residents and descendants and connect us, or that you set a foundation for a process that can connect us with other organizations that can do the same. The second point, or the second theme that was ever present was, this is a process that requires additional timely research, dedicated staff, and resources. We are grateful that we have gotten to this point, but as you've seen from the reports and you've read in the information we've shared, this is one step. This is one slice of research that is, that we are presenting tonight on behalf of the larger Russell City community. There is a lot of information because Russell City was an unincorporated community. There's a lot of information that has yet to be discovered, located, or shared by the County of Alameda. And our hope is that they will also actively engage in this process as the City of Hayward continues to move forward.
And last but not least, it serves as a blueprint for an inclusive future that prevents injustices from happening again.
Thank you. Next slide, please.
So looking ahead, achieving reparative justice for the Russell City community involves recognizing historical injustice
And using their impact
for substantial and meaningful transformation.
We practiced that a few times, just so you know. Not yet. Thank you for the applause. Thank you for the applause. It was meant to be an impactful closing slide. So I'm looking at all of you right now, and I want you to look at the folks who are in this room and, also look at the folks who are participating virtually. So achieving reparative justice, I'm going to read it again, for the Russell City community involves recognizing historical injustices and using their impact for substantial and meaningful transformation. We have actively participated, and the city has actively participated in conducting research, in bringing people to the table, right? But we know that there are more people that need to come to the table in order for there to be reparative justice. This meeting tonight, and it is important to say that the residents and descendants of Russell City have got to continue to be a part of this process. This meeting tonight, when Liz and I were preparing for it, we were told, it was stated that the meeting was going to be in the smaller room 2A. And I guess that is often where the council work sessions are held. The first public hearing of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, the public hearing when the Board of Supervisors sat as the Alameda County Redevelopment Agency in 1963. The first hearing was a very brief hearing because there were so many people that attended the meeting and they had to adjourn and relocate it to the Hayward Veterans Memorial Hall. Having an understanding of our history from 1963, based on the reporter's transcripts that we asked to be part of this meeting record, is important for me and Liz, as it is for the committee members and many of the residents and descendants that are present tonight. I say that because if we invest in resources to imagine reparative justice solutions, then we have also got to recognize that there is work to be done to ensure that history does not repeat itself 61 years later. We are grateful for the work of the City of Hayward and the resources that have been invested in this process. Madam City Manager, I have to say 30 years ago, I was a Hayward Youth Commission member. And one of the things that I learned from that process was listening, studying the history of Hayward, studying the history of people who are making the decisions where you are all seated today. Liz and I represent, and so many others in this room, represent our ancestors' wildest dreams. In 1963, many of our families did not have a voice. They were not able to be on the record. They were not able to attend the meeting. So tonight is important. It has historical value, it has personal value, and it helps address the generational trauma that many families, I'll say some families, are still working through. We appreciate you allowing us the space to move this process forward, and we look forward to your collaboration as the discussion continues. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just. So thank you, Chair Knowles and Vice Chair Sanchez. Appreciate all of your comments and your work. I wanted to just share some process comments, mostly for the benefit of the public. I think the council knows some of these, but the way that council work sessions typically work is we hear public comments first, and then the council comes back for questions and comments. There won't be an official vote tonight. What will happen is council will hopefully provide some direction to staff on the 26 recommendations that were brought forward from the steering committee. Our staff team here will be listening to the council's comments, and we will be trying to assess which of the recommendations have support from 4 or more council members. And what staff will then do is take that and those recommendations that receive that support and really start to work on action planning and implementation, which I know is most important to community members. And so how do we start moving forward? How do we start implementing some of these recommendations or bringing back more information if there's more research that's needed, more collaboration, more partnerships, discussion. And so I just wanted to share that process outline with the community and also just with the council. And again, as part of that implementation and action planning, there will be continuous and ongoing community engagement, as is true to City of Hayward's nature with all of the processes that we go through, which we believe is critical to having successful outcomes. So I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I look forward to hearing the public comments and also receiving some direction from council.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. And again, thank you, Co-Chair Knowles and Co-Chair Sanchez. I appreciate your introductory remarks, and I can assure you that all of us tonight are certainly listening, and I can assure all of you that you're home here. I can tell you that. So thank you for being here and turning out for this wonderful report. I will now move to our speaker cards. I'll start with public comment. Our first speaker is Michael Johnson. Oh, well, there's no, it just says Michael Johnson. Let's see. I did see they all say Michael Johnson. There's 3 of them. There's no delineation. Actually, so the email, I'm a little bit of an investigator up here. It's MVJ.
Good evening. How much time do I have? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So I literally just got off the plane at 6:50. Ran straight over here from the East Coast. I am Michael V. Johnson. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to review or see the addendum that I may have submitted to this group. What I will say, first of all, is it's important for us to realize the importance of hearing the community and having them have an opportunity to engage. We started this process on December the 2nd, I believe, as a part of the steering committee. And we have worked our way, I want to say successfully, to a place that we arrive here. What I would note, what I would want to make clear, is that this is a process that has been very challenging and very traumatic in a number of different ways. First, let's just begin by the way they introduced us and tried to guide us through the process of making decisions about how or what we should use or make as recommendations. And I believe it was in the second steering committee meeting, the city attorney, Michael Lawson, presented what we called, or what he called, a stoplight presentation. In that stoplight presentation, there were things that we were told that we should not ask for because of the risk of litigation. Those were identified as red. Then there were those that we were allowed to, if you will, propose that weren't so obtrusive or aggressive. Those were characterized as yellow. And then there were those that were green. Things like plaques, things like landmarks, things like Russell City Jazz Festivals that already exist. Those were the things from the very beginning where it feels to us like they were trying to drive our narrative by telling us what it is that we should ask for and what we shouldn't ask for. So that's the first point, just kind of how the framework. Then we were told, or we went through the process of looking at the work that had been done. Please note that decisions were made about who it was that was going to do the research even before the committee was formed. The researchers that were selected by city staff. The people that were selected, if you look closely, don't have any experience in reparative justice.
Mr. Johnson, I give you a few more minutes,
Yep.
and if I give you a few more minutes, then I'll have
Okay.
to give everybody, but if you want to just wrap up that last point, I'll
Yes.
give you time to finish that last point.
Right.
And then maybe you can pass the point to one of your
Will do,
colleagues.
will do.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so if you, just from that point, I will look at it. The last point that I want to make more than anything else is the group that we hired to support us in our work officially stopped working with us on September 13th. They want to claim that they work collectively with us to draft recommendations that are set before you. We did no such work with them. The draft recommendations that are called draft recommendations are those that they wrote on our behalf. the best thing that you could call those is that we had the opportunity to prioritize those. So I wanted to be clear to you and everybody here that these recommendations were not recommendations that were created by, developed by the Russell City Steering Committee.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Miriam Johnson. I thought there was another. Okay, Miriam Johnson.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Marian Johnson, and I introduce myself this way. I am a former resident of Russell City. Only 1 year, but that year counts. I am the daughter, granddaughter, and great-granddaughter of home and landowners who lived in Russell City. I want to make a correction to something that was stated by Ms. Youngblood. It was not a relocation. It was a forced removal. I don't want to make it sound pretty. I do not want a repeat of the visual performance played out in 1963. Both my grandparents on both sides spoke at that hearing that was held, and it was a performance. I don't want now, in 2024, the city of Hayward to check a box. This community of Russell City residents and descendants deserve true reparative justice, to be restored, to be repaired, and to be repaid. It was asked of Ms. Youngblood in our last meeting why the Santucci farm was not listed and shown on the most recent map. We were informed, led to believe, that the information was not available or they did not have access to that information, something to that effect. I had a little time after the meeting to go over some records that were given to us by the staff from the San Francisco team. I was able to find the Santucci deed, and it could have been placed on that map because it was available. The undeveloped Santucci farm, which received more than $500,000 market value, must be posted on the map to show the inequity between payments forced upon property owners with developed land who received pennies on the dollar for their land. Much like Harold Davis, the African-American gentleman who said he thought we would be better off elsewhere, and his willingness to help push the county agenda, he was positioned comfortably to become the head of the Oakland Housing Authority. I do not appreciate what looks like smoke, mirrors, and half-truths being told to us. We come in good faith to participate with all of you. And that is my expectation. We do need more time, and that is what we're asking so we can get the whole and complete story. Thank you for giving me the extra time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I have a copy of the map. Can I give it to the city clerk?
If you give it to the city clerk, she'll give it to us. Next speaker is Carolyn Johnson.
So I press the red button?
Yes.
Oh, it's on.
It's on. It's already
Okay.
on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn Johnson. I am the daughter of Jesse Johnson and Clarence Johnson. My mom and dad were pregnant with me when they were forced out of Russell City. We were forced to relocate to East Oakland. I just want to put a human face on these stories. As my sister and brother said, our grandfather, our great-grandfather and grandmother both moved to Russell City. They had been relocated out of Bayview Hunters Point, forced to leave their property, and also out of West Oakland. They came to Russell City with some cash to be able to buy their property, and it was going to be their forever home. They owned that property free and clear. My grandmother built 3 additional houses on her 10 plots for her sons and their children. And my great-grandfather built a home for my parents. When they were forced to relocate, we had to move to East Oakland, and because of redlining, our black families could not live on the east side of East 14th Street, so they were forced to be renters. And to this day, my parents' home still has debt on it. Again, we are descendants of people who owned their property free and clear. And so I wanted to just bring that to you. My background currently, I'm the CEO of an organization that is currently in the fight to hold property for people of color that are being displaced in Oakland. The fight continues to this day, but it's important to also know that I'm a developer and I'm a real estate person. And I want to say that regardless of everyone's different concerns here, everyone has a different reason and a different harm. Our family lost 20 plots in Russell City that we owned free and clear. And whether or not people say they were paid the right amount of money, too little, too less, when you have a contract, a valid contract is one that is entered into when both parties agree. They enter into it freely for fair amounts, and that is not what's happened. When you are forced at gunpoint, for example, to sign a contract, it is not valid. And so what I'm saying is that you have to consider that the land that was taken from my family was taken not validly. And more importantly, others who also were forced to sell were given higher prices than we were given. And the money that was used, that you all used to sell the land to the developer, for which you all received lots of income and taxes from the industrial core that was developed, which was a competitive advantage for the city, continues to fund certain things. But the money that was used, that you all received, was used to build the Santa Rita prison. That also generates a lot of money. So it's just really important for you to go through all of those details. Those details are available. My brother found it in research. But it's really important for me to just highlight that there are different stories. The process, we appreciate it. I know how hard it was to get here and the money that you've allocated. And I will say that it was a difficult process. Ms. Youngblood and team did a good job doing what they could do. But there are different stories, and there are so many people who have an opinion about what is deserved and what is not deserved. But I will say that you have to speak to folks. We were owners, we were debt-free, and now we're full of debt. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jesse Patterson Johnson. Going outside? Okay. Our next speaker is Sabrina Aranda.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Salinas, esteemed members of the City Council, and the attentive Hayward community joining us both in person and virtually tonight. My name is Sabrina Aranda, and I take great pride in my heritage as a descendant of Russell City. My father, the youngest of 14 siblings, was raised along his brothers and sisters on the streets of that vibrant neighborhood. Reflecting on our family's history, it's astonishing to note that when my grandfather passed away 15 years ago, he left behind a legacy that encompassed over 60 grandchildren, all descendants of Russell City as well. Recently, in conversation with my eldest aunt, who now resides in Dallas, Texas, I asked her, "Do you remember the fires that ravaged Russell City?" She said, "Every night." A response that resonates deeply with the lasting scars borne by our community. She is now the age of 82. Tonight, I wish to express my gratitude to the City of Hayward for taking the significant steps of issuing an apology to the former residents and descendants of Russell City. This apology represents just the initial stride in the right direction. I implore our council to lend their support to the Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee drafted recommendations. These recommendations offer a beacon of hope for not only myself and my entire Aranda family, but for our city and the wider county and entire country. It is imperative that we focus on revitalizing our community and implementing measures to prevent similar injustice in the future. I urge the City Council not only to adopt these drafted recommendations, but also to allocate the necessary resources for our effective implementation. While we have collected over 300 surveys detailing the experiences of Russell City descendants, it is crucial to acknowledge that the incidents displaced over 1,400 residents, rendering the survey only a fraction of those affected. Moreover, many families in Russell City, much like those in Hayward today, live in multi-generational households with limited access to technology and resources. Therefore, we must invest more than a month in researching and amplifying the voices of those impacted, reaching out personally to ensure their stories are heard. I ask for you to vote in favor of these drafted, or to just discuss these drafted recommendations, to stand in solidarity with us, to collaborate as a united community in reshaping the narrative of Russell City's history. Together, let us strive for healing and justice. And I also want to thank Aisha and Liz for their dedication, and the entire committee for really spending their hard work time beyond their working jobs and their other commitments in the community to really providing this space for us and bringing us together. And it's been a blessing to be able to spend time getting to know the history that I've come from, and very proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kathy Rodriguez. James Knowles.
Mayor Salinas and council members, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. My name is James Knowles, born and raised in Hayward. Been a homeowner in Hayward since 1978. I spent roughly 35, 40 years working in the Alameda County Probation Department. I retired as a deputy probation officer, court officer. At this time, I'd like to thank the members of Russell City, because without them being around me and influencing my life, when the forced evacuation occurred, I was 11, 12 years old. At that time, my father lost his business. Parents got a divorce, and we had to move. Those were turbulent years. And as my career wound up in probation, and a majority of it was juvenile division, so you understand the value of a family. Without the support and the guidance that was placed upon me by my friends and family in Russell City during my early years, I would not have made it. I was educated in the Hayward Unified School District, as were my children. And before I go too far, I want to thank my daughters for assuming the responsibility that should have been mine. They stepped up because they have a little more patience and a little more diplomacy than I do. And that is the truth. I've never ordered them to do anything other than to bunt or to steal a base when they were playing ball. At this point, without the guidance of those people that are sitting behind me, I would have never made it. After graduating from Hayward High, I went to Cal State, got an undergraduate degree. Also got a graduate degree from Cal State Hayward. And currently, I am a member of the Reparations Commission for Alameda County. So I support the idea that the steering committee, whose members I know a lot of because they were residents out there when I was growing up. And without their guidance and supervision, I wouldn't have made it. And not only after we moved from Russell City, but when I was living on Kelly Hill, which is unincorporated Hayward, they continued to keep their eye on me. So without them doing what they needed to do, the love that they showed me, I wouldn't be here today. And without my wife, Winnie, we wouldn't have 3 lovely daughters. So thank you for your time, listening to me. I am in support of the steering committee's recommendations, and I had to attend today because when we get together at the county level, we will take action. Thank you very much.
Stephanie Spencer.
Thank you very much. I'm Stephanie Spencer, and I'm not a descendant or a former resident of Russell City, but I'm here because our community, including the city of Hayward, has an opportunity to address an injustice that none of us created. However, there is some good news. Hayward City Council has the authority to act to right some of the wrongs that were done at the time. I was born in 1963, the year that Russell City began to be intentionally and unjustly dismantled for economic projects that the residents did not benefit from. The planning and official steps to make this removal and theft of property and wealth possible started many years before 1963. These processes are documented in the official meeting minutes that have been collected by the Russell City Reparative Justice Project and detailed in their reports. Russell City community members weren't included. In fact, they weren't heeded. They were excluded and ignored, but no more. The effects of destroying Russell City have reverberated through the generations, and I'm now 60 years old, so 3 generations in the families who lived in Russell City in 1963 lost land, homes, businesses, schools, culture, and relationships that could have been nurtured for 60 years. But as I said, the good news that is evident today is that the truth is being told, and there are still Russell City residents and descendants who can benefit from reparations. And most importantly, this history is not only in the past. As the Hayward Historical Society often states, history is still being made. But crucially, building on the apology that has been made by the City of Hayward, Hayward City Council members have the authority to make decisions that can help restore the Russell City community. And the question before you is whether you will use that authority in brave, innovative, and just actions for the survivors and their families. We can't go back in history, but that's not a reason not to take action. Taking no action lets injustices stand. Please accept the Russell City Reparative Justice Project draft recommendations for reparations and consider them in detail. Please take bold action and use your authority to make restitution. Please make a clear statement that the current Hayward City Council is different from the elected government representatives who served in the 1960s. Taking no action can also be interpreted as condoning those unjust decisions. The City of Hayward and the broader Hayward community can be significantly restored if you take seriously the responsibility to right the wrongs of the past. Our community is restored when any part of our community is restored, and we all need Russell City reparations. Thank you for the opportunity to share my comments and for your consideration.
Thank you. Before I go to the next card, I do see a hand raised online, and I'd like to call upon, I can't see the full number, but if I can have the last 3 numbers, 341, go ahead and make your public comment. And then Madam City Clerk, if we can keep an eye on me.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Velda Go, and I am a descendant of Russell City. I just want to say quickly, it's funny how life goes. My mom, who is deceased now for about 9 years, introduced me to my relatives, her Uncle Buster Brooks and Aunt Yvetta, around 1998 in Oakland. And little did I know, because we didn't discuss Russell City or the background, when Buster Brooks lined up all of these young people and said, that's your relative, that's your relative, that's your relative. And here we are today talking about Russell City, where he relocated from forcibly due to the relocation. And now I find out my family history that he was a very instrumental part of Russell City, in that, in so much as he was dubbed the mayor of Russell City, obtained the fire trucks to put out the nighttime torchings of the homes there, and worked closely with the Hayward governance at that time to try to get full citizenship amenities in Russell City as a taxpayer, homeowner, and property owner. The basic things that were denied to the citizens of Russell City, which were readily available to other residents of Hayward. So I want to quickly say that 4 of my relatives who lived in Russell City during that time are still alive. And I think that we owe it to the elders of many families who are still alive to move expeditiously as much as possible, so these elders who went through that horrible experience of being awakened by a fire in your home or your business being burned down see some form of restitution before they go on to the other world. So I just am thankful that the city of Hayward is making this historic move, and I am putting this urge forward to all who worked so hard for this effort to move as quickly as possible so they see some form of comfort and restitution and recognition for what happened in Russell City. So I'm just sorry my mom is not around to talk to me about this, but we move on as part of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have 2 others here, and I'd like to invite Gloria Moore.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead. It looks like you're on mute, Gloria. Whatever you did a second ago, do that. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor Salinas and City Council members. My name is Gloria Bratton Moore. I'm a former resident of Russell City and a descendant of the James Sanders family. In 1946, when I was 3 years old, my family relocated from Portland, Oregon, and moved to Russell City. My mother, Doris Sanders, was employed as a cook at Russell City's elementary school. She retired from Hayward High School, where she worked in facilities. My dad was a longshoreman at Todd Shipyard in Oakland. I lived in Russell City for 15 years until I was 18. I've lived in Los Angeles for the past 61 years. When I moved to Los Angeles, I attended USC and graduated from Loyola Law School. As a member of the Russell City Reparative Justice Project Steering Committee, I am here today to support the 26 recommendations set forth in the series policy research report submitted to the council for review. First, I would like to thank you, the City of Hayward, for being one of the first cities in the nation to issue an apology for the harm to the former residents and descendants who lived in Russell City. Also, for forming a steering committee to recommend reparative actions and making an extraordinary effort to address the ramifications of systemic and structural discrimination. I would like to reference Attachment 8, the reporter's transcript of public hearings on the Russell City redevelopment project held on January 8, 1963, and share how we were able to provide a copy of the transcript. Approximately 2 months following the apology from the City of Hayward, I was cleaning my garage and going through dozens of books. Lo and behold, one of the books fell to the floor. Unbelievably, it was a copy of the transcript of the 1963 public hearings, which had previously been apparently lost and unavailable. It was as though my mother had dropped a copy of the transcript from heaven and said to me, "Gloria Jean, this is what happened to Russell City." Just as you read in the transcripts, I too, as a former resident and descendant of Russell City, can attest to the long-term pain and suffering rooted in racially discriminatory, unjust actions and policies. These decisions resulted in multi-generational financial hardship, economic inequity, psychological stress, health disparities, and social disintegration. It is my hope that the City of Hayward will thoroughly consider and accept all 26 recommendations contained in this comprehensive report to demonstrate its commitment to achieving reparative justice. While an ideal solution would be to return...
Ms. Moore, I'll give you a few more seconds to conclude your point, and then we can move on, but thank you. Go ahead.
I strongly recommend that the City Council keep up the good work and maintain open communication. As an 81-year-old African-American woman, my prayer is for future generations to thrive and to recognize the historical actions taken by the mayor and council tonight as an attempt to rectify the harm we endured at the hands of our government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you can thank your assistant, because the prop came in just on cue. So thank you. Let's see, I'll go to Miss Tony Nguyen.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. My story is a little bit different from my relative, Gloria, and also Deborah. My story is that I went there with my grandfather, who is Gloria's uncle. My grandfather is Charles Sanders. He went by Glee, and my grandmother is Isabel Sanders. All that I remember is that we went there to help my Uncle Buddy on his small farm. And what I do remember is that all of a sudden we didn't go there after going there fairly regularly on the weekends to help him. What I didn't realize until I inherited a box from my grandmother is that we also owned land there in anticipation of moving to Russell City. We owned a quarter of an acre. But 1963 happened, and we were not able to take advantage of the land that we owned. Instead, my grandmother and grandfather were given a check for $2,250 for a quarter of an acre of land. So I never lived there, but I visited there quite often. And we would have lived there because that's why they bought the land, in order to live next to or near our relatives that were already in Russell City. So I really think that the City of Hayward should look at the recommendations, and they should honor our recommendations, because land was stolen from us, generational wealth was stolen from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is Artavia Berry.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. My name is Artavia Berry. I am the former chair of the Hayward Community Services Commission. and I'm a current member serving right alongside James Knowles of the Alameda County Reparations Commission, representing District 2. First, want to give greetings to all the elders in attendance, all the descendants of the elders who lived in Russell City. Over the past several years, I've had the great privilege of getting to know people like the Golden Girls, Tony Wynn, Velda Glow, Gloria Moore, the Knowles family, the Johnson families, among many others, including running into Liz Sanchez. I think I ran into you downtown Hayward with your dad at one point. It has been a pleasure to watch the work of the Restorative Justice Project and the work of this committee. So I want to start by saying thank you for your resilience, for sticking with it, even though it's not always easy. It's often messy when we're making the sausage behind the scenes. But tonight represents an important step forward. Congratulations on making it this far. Greetings to the mayor and the city council. Can't believe not that long ago, we made a presentation together and saw an apology, which now has led to this great work. Congratulations on continuing the effort. I think tonight, again, is an important next step in the process. I called to congratulate everyone and to also offer my support of the 26 recommendations that came out of the committee. I think it is very important for us to consider the voices of the people who actually live there, their children, their grandchildren, and even now their great-grandchildren, to make sure that we are, again, listening to the community and forming recommendations and taking steps that demonstrate respect for the people who actually endured the injustice. I also want to take a moment to say that as a representative for District 2, that I will gladly take back the reporting from tonight, the recommendations and others, to our Alameda County Reparations Commission for consideration and work at that level to continue to figure out how to offer support and continue the work that has began here in Hayward. Thank you for your time tonight, and let's continue to get in good trouble together, folks.
Thank you. Our next caller is, I think it's Rafiq Mohammed.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mayor Salinas and City Council, my name is Rafiq Mohammed, formerly known as Depew Buddy Pryor III. I am a surviving resident of Russell City, and I represent the Pryor family. I am one of many surviving descendants of Chauncey Depew Sr. and Janie Pryor, our grandparents, and Depew Buddy Jr. and Billie Jean Pryor, some of our parents. As has been documented and is a matter of historic public record, the Pryor family, along with many other well-meaning and aspiring residents, began working for the best interests of the Russell City community, dating back to as early as 1947. Upon arriving in Russell City and experiencing the need for improvements to the basic services of drinking water, waste and/or sewage, electricity, roads, etc., our grandfather became active in the community and community leadership, working with other residents, petitioning the local governments and utility services for those entities to address and help resolve the lack of these services in the community. Chauncey Depew Pryor served the community of Russell City in the following official capacities. The Russell City Improvement League, he served on the executive board and on the fire and road committees. As a member of Russell City's volunteer firefighters. As a member of the Russell City Club and the Russell City Civic Club, he served on the executive board. He served as one of several Alameda County sworn petitioners organizing and gathering Russell City resident signatures for the petition for the Russell City annexation to the City of Hayward and the Ora Loma Water District. Chauncey Depew Pryor served in the positions for the Russell City Community Service District as its district director, its district chairman, its district president during the board's existence. 1962 to 63, he was a part of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Chauncey was the lone resident of Russell City to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee. Chauncey is quoted in newspaper accounts as a member of that committee saying that the citizens of Russell City would support whatever it took to improve their community, but would steadfastly resist mass location. Like the rest of the 200 families that lived in Russell City, we were subjected to the neglect of Alameda County, City of Hayward, Ora Loma Water District, Hayward and Alameda County Fire Departments, Hayward Police and Alameda County Sheriff Departments, Alameda County Building Department, Pacific Gas and Electric, etc. For Janie Pryor, our grandmother, the looming threat of forced removal from Russell City to some undetermined location while striving to maintain a stable and consistent home environment.
Mr. Mohammed, you're out of time, but I'll give you a second or two to make your point, and then I have to move on.
I really appreciate that. And I'm almost finished. While striving to maintain a stable and consistent home environment for a family had a devastating effect on her health. Couple that with having to endure the challenges and disappointments experienced while working to bring water and other basic services to the Russell City community. The Pryor family arrived in Russell City in 1945, was forced out of our homes and off of our properties in March of 1964. And Janie Pryor, our grandmother, died in December of that same year. The Russell City Reparative Justice Steering Committee draft recommendations offer a measure of hope that will aid in repairing the harm and repaying the debt. I urge the City Council to not only adopt these draft recommendations, but also allocate the necessary resources for their successful implementation. And I appreciate you allowing me to finish.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Our next call is Daniel Moreno.
Yes, hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. Go right ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, I'm calling because my dad and my family, they were descendants of Russell City. My dad is actually on the cover of the book of Russell City, of the Images of America. My grandfather came from Mexico, and he had land and everything in Russell City and everything. And the land was taken and everything. And I'm sorry, I have epilepsy, so words get mixed up. But when my dad always talked to me, I always been with my dad. He always told me stories about Russell City and how the people would come in, they would be racist, call my family spics, throwing rocks at my mom. I mean, not my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather and everything. I heard very bad times about that. And actually, too, we have racist police here in Hayward, California. It's always been racism over here in California. 2 years ago, I was falsely arrested for letting a car know that got pulled over. Only the driver needs to give their ID, nobody else. They arrested me and charged me with a 148-1. I just won my case, found innocent, and this was in November 27th. And I need to file a complaint. I would like to talk to the mayor because I left him a message a couple months ago about this. Never got a response about what's the next thing I need to do against these racist cops over here for giving me a false crime that I had to fight, and I was found innocent. But I told me stories about my grandma and everything. They had a lot of land. They had horses. They had chickens, roosters. You know, they helped out the communities. They helped out neighbors and everything, vice versa. Everybody was great with everybody. But it's just always the outside people. They would always come in. They would be racist, throwing rocks, beating up people, beating up the black people and everything. My dad was always friends with everybody, but all these racist.
Mr. Moreno, your time is up, and I'll give you a moment, a second or two to finish your point, and then I have to move on.
Yes. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just shaking right now because I'm very disappointed. You know, I lost my father. My father would be 93 years old. He had 22 kids. He took care of all of his kids. He was a big help in Hayward and everything. I feel that everybody who lived, that had family in Hayward and everything, I mean, in Russell City, they need reparations and everything. They need their land back that they got stolen from everything. You know, it's not right how the community of Russell City was treated. I'm very, very disappointed. Very disappointed in it.
Thank you very much. And our next caller is Arthur Long, Jr. I'll give Mr. Arthur Long a moment, see if we can, if he can unmute. If you're wondering, I can see whether or not they're muted or not. Oh, there
Can you hear
go.
me now?
I can hear you. Welcome.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be the most elegant speaker tonight. I just got out of the hospital. I've been in there for almost 2 weeks, but I couldn't miss an opportunity to talk about my hometown, place I loved dearly. I'll never forget the day of June 11th, 1964, last day of school, coming home from the 6th grade and getting on a truck to move to East Oakland, away from what we felt was our paradise. We felt we lived in the Garden of Eden. We had a beautiful home. We had a beautiful community. We had everything that we needed. My father came here from Texas with my mom, working in the shipyards, making good money, couldn't find a place that would take his money for us to live. So we lived in the projects for quite a while. Found out about this place called Russell City, and he was able to buy almost a quarter of a block of land where we had everything. We had 20, 30 fruit trees. We had 200 chickens. We had rabbits. We had ducks, geese, you name it. But we also had love. We had a together community. It was also the community where our churches were, where I first got to sing in a choir with Deborah Tofree. I think the way this was done to us is a travesty. It's a shame. When the Reparations Committee came out and we're looking for members, I told my wife, Rebecca, I said, I'm not going to be a part of that because all they're going to do is change the name of a street or build some kind of statue. So I'm glad that the committee got to this point. I pray that you listen to their recommendations strongly and take into account the injustices and the pain that many people in Russell City felt. I'll never forget the night my dad came home and said to my mom, Claire, They only want to give me $3,000 for all my land. Please do something about this. Please realize that reparations are needed and not tokens. I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but this is very emotional for me. It destroyed my father when he lost his land. My mother was never the same. She passed not that long after. So I just thank you for giving it the consideration you are giving it. And listen to the people. That's all I can say. Listen to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our last caller online is Ro Aguilar.
Good evening. I am not a Russell City resident or descendant. I support reparations in all 5 categories. I believe reparations would be short-lived without the guarantee of the non-repetition or recurrence category. In some ways, our current housing policies continue to discriminate and discourage lower-income residents from moving to the middle and upper-income neighborhoods, denying opportunity to build wealth. We know that lower-income people, a high percentage of lower-income people are Black and brown. So, in a sense, lower income, discriminating against lower income is discriminating against Black and brown people. To honor the sacrifices of the Russell City residents and descendants, the City of Hayward must change current housing policies and require every development, including single family, to build inclusionary housing. This will provide access to the resources and amenities available to middle and upper income people. I applaud the Russell City report for including the category, the guarantee category in their report, and I support it fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker here in the chamber is, of course, Pastor Arlene Nearing. Dr. Nearing.
Do I need to push? Oh, magic. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Arlene Nearing. I'm the Senior Minister and Executive Director of Eden United Church of Christ in unincorporated Hayward. Thank you for giving me a spot, even though I'm not a resident of Hayward, but many of our members are, and some of our members were residents and are descendants of Russell City. And one of them is the chair of the committee. And I am so honored to be associated with the Knowles family and to have been given an honorary place on the committee. It's been a sign of pure grace in my life. And I serve a very progressive Protestant church in a very progressive Protestant denomination that is famous for doing a lot of things before any other Christian church has done them. And it's impressive to me to have come to serve for 22 years in a community in a city that's willing to lean in and be first on such a challenging topic. Our progressive denomination not only came over on the Mayflower, but we believed in separation of church and state, and we fought for that. And yet it is not lost on me that the issues we're struggling with right now are what we call in seminary moral injury. What we call in the church sin. It's not just individual sin, there's corporate sin, you know? And there was a snake in the Garden of Eden, and our church's name is Eden. Believe me, we know. And as a faith leader, I'm profoundly aware and daily striving to teach and model the need for confession. Without confession, without amendment of life, that's contrition, there can be no meaningful apology or healing. So God bless each and every one of you in this community for staying the journey. I am here to tell you, lesser people never even start. God bless all of you.
Thank you. Cindy Torres.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Salinas and City Council members. My name is Cindy Torres. I'm a member of the Russell City Reparative Justice Committee and a proud descendant of my grandparents, Reyes and Virginia Pacheco, who are residents of Russell City. My grandparents moved to California from Hawaii in 1925 and eventually settled in Russell City in the 1930s, where they built a large and lovely 5-bedroom home to raise their family of 16 children. They also owned 2 other adjacent houses and lots. I was a young child when Russell City was destroyed and unfortunately only have a few personal memories of being there. And so sadly, I was deprived of growing up knowing the idyllic community that was always vividly alive in the conversations at family gatherings through the years. I had asked my beloved grandmother years ago about the destruction of Russell City at the end. My grandmother was a strong and resilient woman, but it was obvious that the trauma of being torn from the home that she and my grandfather built stayed with her. And she was visibly still affected by this destruction and displacement. She was obviously aware at the time of the negative perception of Russell City and its residents, and all she said to me was that she would make sure that her house was clean from top to bottom before she was removed from her home, so that when they came to tear it down, that they would see that decent people lived there. And she was also very upset when she went back a short time after to see that someone had kicked in and marred a bathroom wall. Those words have stayed with me and weigh heavy to me till this day. I have spent the years since speaking to people about Russell City to write the story. And in doing so, I have many times experienced the same negative perceptions from those who were ill-informed and did not know any better. With my goal and honor to honor my grandmother and correct the wrong stories that have since been told in books and films that fail to properly vet the accuracy of some of those stories and choose to use inaccurate and inappropriate images that fail to tell a complete and factual story of Russell City. To convey the community as a whole as blighted and crime-ridden is revisionist history that only defends the deplorable decisions and actions of those in power. It was institutional racism and greed that led to the destruction of this close-knit, diverse community of Russell City and displacement of its residents. The conditions of the homes, good or bad, made no difference. It was a land grab without consideration or compensation for the actual homes, structures, and businesses built on the land. It was not a slum. So in honor of my grandparents, my mother, Mabel Pacheco Torres, my uncle, Albert Pacheco, who, by the way, soon after his family home was destroyed, was sent to Vietnam to fight for the rights of others, while no one in power here at home fought the rights for his family. And my elderly aunts and uncles, two of which are right now in hospitals, and the entire Pacheco family that lived and thrived in Russell City. I thank the City of Hayward for the apology that you issued and for the time and investment you have made in forming the Russell City Reparative Justice Committee to put your words into action. I commend Dr. Carrie Lynch of Series Policy Research Group and her dedication, guidance, and care in working with our community to help us work towards finally receiving justice for the destruction of Russell City and displacement of the community. And I thank the San Francisco State Research Team to help reveal the facts and uncover the truth, work which still needs to be continued. I thank you for your attention this evening to listen to us and want to acknowledge that there are so many that are no longer with us to appreciate this moment to finally be heard, and ask that you accept the 26 recommendations that we put forth and look forward to the City of Hayward continuing the work still to be done, and for leading the way and setting a strong example for the County of Alameda to do the same for their part, to achieve a long-awaited and satisfactory resolution for the City of Russell City.
Thank you. I believe it's, is it Delmore Harris? Delmar? Or Deborah, I apologize. Yeah, I apologize.
I'm gonna let my daughter read because I read a little slow because I'm a little old.
Okay, well, good evening, Mayor Salinas and Hayward City Council members. I'm Deborah Tolfrey Harris and lived at 25014 Adams Street in Russell City with my parents, Clemmy and Octavia Tolfrey, 5 brothers and 1 sister, all my life until I married in 1962. I applaud the City of Hayward for taking the lead in the reparation process, for apologizing for the atrocities inflicted on the Russell City community, and for providing a budget for research by the Series Group and San Francisco State University. As a member of the Russell City Steering Committee Leadership Group, I support the research that has been done to formulate the proposed recommendations being presented today for consideration. I had a wonderful childhood, have many cherished and fond memories. I never considered Russell City to be a blight ghetto. In fact, I didn't know any better. The first time I was introduced or heard the word ghetto was in my 9th grade social studies class at Hayward High when my teacher referred to Russell City as such. I thought we were living our best life. I didn't realize that we were being deprived of the basic amenities provided other communities. I felt protected there because everyone looked out for each other and questioned strangers. So there was no fear interacting within the community. We lived as just a big family, more or less. My parents provided the best they could. Many life lessons were taught: how to treat and respect ourselves, authority, our elders, guests, and neighbors. Not all these lessons were passed down to the next generation. I felt honored to be a part of the steering committee and an ambassador for the community that I grew up in, and to bring to the forefront the desires and wishes of the people who live there. Of the 13 to 15 committee members, only 2 members lived in Russell City, Gloria, Moore, and I. Gloria and I are cousins and both attended Russell City Elementary, Hayward High School, and college together. Many families lived in Russell City, and as the survey shows, have different opinions, which have been narrowed down to 26 recommendations. The common theme of the 26 recommendations is reparative justice. Although I appreciate the city's acknowledgement and ultimate written apology of the injustice committed, An apology is just words and does not repair the financial damage that was caused to my parents, who lived without sanitation services for 20 years, although they were taxed by Alameda County for services that were never brought to fruition. An apology does not repair the damage nor the insult my parents being forced to move by eminent domain and given a measly amount to relocate and start their lives all over again in a new city. An apology does not make up for the financial harm and generational wealth lost. The city of Hayward and the county of Alameda owe a financial debt. The residents who lived through these indignities of no sanitation, no sidewalks, and no basic municipal infrastructure are now 70 to 80 plus years old. For those who lived through and survived these indignities, reparations mean monetary recompense, first to the living survivors and to the descendants of those who have passed on. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to I have one more caller here online I'd like to get to. Let's see, the number, the last three numbers are 169.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor Salinas, and to all of the city council members here this evening, and particularly to the Russell City community. My name is Robin Randolph, and I am a former resident and descendant of Russell City. And I am here this evening just simply, I don't have any long statements, but I simply just wanted to call and just to give, as my mother would said, a different face of the residents that were there in Russell City at the time that she grew up there. She came there, she and her family, the Write-Outs, came there when she was just in, I think, second, third grade, from what she told me. And they grew up there, and she never really talks about all the negative things that many of us have experienced, or many of you have experienced. What she wanted to give to me is the love and the care and the unity and togetherness and that she experienced while growing up there with her family. There are just 3 of them left, my mother and 2 of her siblings. There was 9 of them there that grew up there. She had gone to, and they had gone to Russell City Elementary. They had gone to Hayward High, and she just remembered the love and the care that she had while she was living there. She remembered growing up there and going to school and playing with her friends. It was just, to watch her tell the story was just, it gave me so much joy. And I could feel what it was like for her there. She met my father there when she was just 16 years old. My father was 18. They were married there. They went to church there. They had friends there. They had me there, their oldest, and 2 of my other siblings. And so my father had dreams. He had hopes, like many other fathers, to own property and to own land and to have something to leave to his family. And when they were forced out, when I was maybe just 3 years old, it was devastating for him, as my mother tells me, because he was young, a young man working at a car wash, not knowing where to go, what to do, and trying to make it on his own without any help or resources. And so I just want you to do everything possible. As my mother would say, dig deep in your heart and pray about what it is that is before you and do the best that you can to repair the harm, to restore the land, and to repay the debt. I would love to see my mother and her last 2 siblings be able to witness this before they leave this earth. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is here in the chamber, Michael Johnson.
I'm a member of the steering committee also, and my grandmother, Lily. Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm a member of the steering committee, and my grandmother was Lily Batchy, who lived in Russell City, and my mother right there, Dora Hart, that's her daughter, and my auntie Barbara Johnson was also there, right? And my grandmother had a cafe that she did, Ideal Cafe, and it was one of the few places that blacks could go and entertain. So it's part of that circuit also. But then also moving forward is, I went on to that map. We have the Russell City map viewer, right, that tells you where your property is and what property you had based off your name. You put your name in there, so I put in Lily Batchy. And this is basically right here, right now, this is the property where my grandmother's property was, right? This is what's there now, okay? So it's definitely not what she had, right? So I just basically wanted to show that, to put something to it. I went down there, found out the location, went down there the other day to see this so I could walk on this actual property that my grandmother owned. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sam Nava.
Good evening. I want to thank the City Council for the opportunity to say a few words here. I wasn't prepared. They just said, get up there, and I said, here I am. If it was sports talk, I could talk all night, but Russell City is the same way. I could talk about Russell City. I brag about Russell City. And sometimes I think of Russell City / Hayward, because I never left Hayward. All my 14 years of school were in Russell School and Hayward High, and I'm proud of that. And there's a lot of stories about Russell City. I hope nothing gets misunderstood here that I say, but I lived there from 42 to 1960 when I got married. And the people there, sometimes we hear horror stories and all this, but there was a lot of good times too. Sometimes we forget about the good times. There are a lot of holy people up there. It was only a town of 4 blocks by 5 blocks. And I think it had like 6 churches, maybe 4 or 5 stores, even had a shoe shop. I don't know why, because everything was mud out there, most of it. But there again, I was always proud, even when I was working, to say that I was from Russell City. I used to tell everybody, now I'll say Hayward, but Russell City too. But I got into the plastering business, and I also got to work at Sunset High School, which was my first job when I joined the union. And then I worked at Hayward High School, Castro Valley High School, Mount Eaton High School, Tennyson High School, Tyrell School, and East Avenue School, so I might have missed one here and there. But it made me a living. But Dad taught us hard work. He knew that with the income and everything of that time, the odds were against us with 9 kids that we might not be able to send us all to school, but we all had to learn a trade, and that he put on us. And again, I know that looking at the city council here and the people that are working on this side too, it's not 2 sides. I think we've got to work together here, and we can make this thing work. It can work. It's all for the good of the people. Russell Cityans, those are my people. I brag about Russell City. One time I was going to buy a house on Whipple, the border of Union City and Hayward. And I was all ready to close the deal, and I seen the mail on the porch there. And I seen that it said Union City. I told the guy, no, forget the deal. I'm not kidding. All I had to do was, it was a border line. It was right there on the border. But once I seen Union City, I told him no, but I never told him why. But Russell Cityans, Hayward Council, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm a proud Russell Cityan, and I'm sure that everybody here that's a Russell Cityan is proud of where they came from. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
I'm sure glad you made Hayward home. Yeah, Kathy Rodriguez.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rodriguez, and I live in Hayward, and I lived in Hayward all my life. And first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you, because when this whole thing started and I got the email about wanting to be on the committee, I just was so astonished that you guys would even apologize. I mean, it wasn't in your era, but for you doing that, I commend it. It's like it's big. It's a big. You know, it's going to make history. You guys made a decision to do that, and you did it. And it's like you need to be commended for it, because that is so amazing and so astonishing to me. And for Miss Youngblood over there, I really appreciate all the work that she's put in. She's put in a lot of work, and she has a lot of wisdom, and she is just so smart. And my whole thing is that the 26 recommendations that were recommended, I would state that you guys would take those under consideration, because the group that we worked with, when I seen the San Francisco people come on, I was like amazed at all the info they found. They found so much information about Russell City that it was like, wow. And it's like, it takes a lot of work to research and dig and do all that stuff, and I commend them for that. They did a great job. And for the series group, we got to work with them, and those people were just amazing. Amazing, amazing. They did a wonderful job. They did a lot of research. They taught us a lot. I mean, even in the little group sessions that we had, they taught us so much stuff, and I was just so astounded by what they did. All the recommendations, I'm going to speak for myself and some of the other committee members that we really want you to take those into consideration, because they're so good, and the way they did the analysis and finding out what was important, what wasn't not important, they did a really good job, and really take that under consideration. I'm part of the steering committee as well. I'm an alternate, but I have a big voice, and I'm an advocate for Alameda County against elderly abuse, and I work very closely with Nate Miley and some of the board members over there, and I'm also involved on the Sheriff Oversight Coalition that's, going to start making some changes within our jails. I work in a jail. I've been working in a jail for 27 years, but my main purpose and goal is that there's always two sides to every story, you know what I mean? And we need to put our emotions aside and know that you guys are going to make the right decision, because you guys aren't in the position for nothing. You guys are put in that position for a reason and a purpose. And I just want to state that there's some people that were on the committee that they should be ashamed of themselves. And I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but they need to be ashamed of themselves, because we need to focus on Russell City community and getting justice for the whole community, not just certain people. And I just want to thank you, because you guys need to be commended. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. Jesse Patterson Johnson, is Jesse here? No? Okay, all right. And that is my last card, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'd like to do is, let's give everybody a big round of applause. We have heard stories, we have heard lived experiences, we have heard, testimony of just incredible. And I can assure you, and if it might have looked like I wasn't paying attention, I was paying attention. I was writing everything down as Councilmember Andrews sees. And one of the differences, and I've read the transcripts. I've read, I looked at the testimonies back in the 60s, and particularly the supervisors meeting. And, you know, government sometimes can be impersonal. And through this process, I'm hoping that we, you know, acknowledge what has happened, and we walk through this process with a sense of empathy where all of your experiences, your lived experiences, are acknowledged. We're all human up here. We, like you, we feel things and we experience things and we hurt. Very similar. And you know, in reading all of the documents that were submitted for tonight's meeting and prepared in tonight's meeting, clearly, we have to do something. I appreciate Mr. Nava's sort of summation when he said that we can do this. We can do this as a community. We can do it here in Hayward. You know, we can do it. It's a process, and I also appreciate the acknowledgement of Co-Chair Knowles and Co-Chair Sanchez of it's a process where we're starting. It's a process that's not finished. It's going to take time. But I also want to assure you that as we walk through this process together, we will always continue to listen. I really want to emphasize that. We're listening. I'm listening, and I know I'm speaking for my colleagues right now, and you know, we're listening. I know Ms. Knowles. I know Ms. Sanchez. I've known them for a very long time, and we talk, and we're talking through this process, as are my colleagues with each other and with your leaders, and so I just wanted to assure that you know, I know tonight's task at hand is to look at recommendations, sort of focus on the recommendations. Clearly, all of you support the recommendations that have been provided to us, and that's very clear, and we see that, we hear that. And our task also tonight is to direct staff what to do next, what to research further. There are some things in here that are relatively easy, and I think we can get done. There's other things that are going to take more time, going to take more research, there's other agencies, and you know, I don't want to just point to the county, but you know, there's other agencies we need to engage, and I appreciate the acknowledgement. This committee did very astute work. I mean, the level of proficiency in what we say in the business interagency work. It's very clear. It is very clear. You understand what this process involves and what the work ahead of us takes. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and start off our next segment of the meeting, which is we're going to sit here and we're going to talk amongst each other and reflect and talk about the recommendations ahead of us. So what I'm going to do is, and before I call on my first council member, Councilmember Zermeño, I'm going to walk off a little bit because I need some water. So please forgive me for stepping away from my seat for a moment. But while I'm away, Councilmember Zermeño, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and I certainly agree with your sentiments 100%. And with that in mind, we do listen. We also read the recommendations, all 26 of them. So thank you all for being here. Thank to the folks who called in. Thank you to the committee, our co-chairs. Very, very important to hear and also to read. There is a book about Russell City that I'm sure you've read, written by Maria Ochoa. But anyway, just a couple of comments and then some questions and a recommendation, if anything. Let's see. So the presentations were good. The slides were excellent. I love the background where all these photographs. We do need to continue working on this. We do need to continue exploring. We do need to make sure that our city provides enough staff. So my first question is to staff. Who's our staff point person on this?
Well, primarily it will be Assistant City Manager Youngblood and our Equity and Inclusion Officer, Ms. Ayankoya, but depending on the recommendation, other staff might need to be brought in for research or for other purposes. Part of the next step is putting together the implementation plan, which would then help us assess what kind of staff capacity we need and sort of timelines associated with the different elements. So while I think the team here would be the lead, there may be other staff that would need to be brought in, and that would be something that would be brought back to council to explain kind of how we would recommend or what other resources we would need in terms of staffing or timelines.
So at the moment, I see the committee working in conjunction with Assistant City Manager Youngblood and perhaps.
I think actually what, at this point, the steering committee was convened to bring forward the recommendations.
Okay.
And I think what we're recommending at this point is that staff take the ball from here and work in concert with the entire community on a community engagement process that revolves around the implementation plan.
Very good, very good. Going beyond the 12 individuals in
Correct.
this committee.
So it would broaden so that we would then work with the entire stakeholder community for the implementation.
And that means being inclusive, and that's important so that everybody has a voice, not just simply 12 individuals. So that's excellent. And we may need a couple more staff members on this. And if you need, I suppose there may be some need for some funding,
That would all be part of the implementation plan.
So that certainly will be my recommendation. I hope my colleagues also recommend the same thing. Have as many voices be heard and be part of this process. And I'm sure you've thought of this, but in case you have not, you need to go before the Board of Supervisors on this, make a good presentation, and then also have another presentation to Assemblymember Liz Ortega, and then another one to Senate Aisha Wahab, because that will take you to the state. The state needs to come up with something like this. The county gave some dollars to some of the former residents. Where did the money come from? From the state. So you got to hit the state on this. So another question to staff. Have we researched state, local, or federal grants for some of these recommendations that are?
Not yet. I think
Not
that's
yet?
that's part of the next steps of the process.
Okay.
This was just the preliminary, and I think that's where we're going to be not probably willing to, or not able to answer a lot of technical questions about these recommendations,
Okay.
because the next step is really research, funding opportunities. What does all of that entail?
Good.
I'm looking down the table. Everyone's nodding heads.
So if anybody out there knows about possible grants from the state, from the locals, and from the federals, please let our staff know so we can get some funding into this. Let's see, my next note here is one possibility for our staff, or one direction or recommendation to our staff, is that perhaps these 26 recommendations can be consolidated so that be not many. There are certain elements in some of the recommendations that are very similar to others. So that's a possibility. But you may look into that and make sure you contact the folks out there. And let's see. My last comment, besides thanking you again and making sure that all of you participate and contact our staff as to what you feel, what you experience, what you lived through, is that this episode, this what somebody said, this displacement of Russell City does not ever happen again. Just like the repatriation of the Mexicans back in 1939 or the Japanese internment, they should never happen again. And let us make sure that we are participants in making sure that it does not happen again. So I'm with you 100%. I believe the city will be working with the whole Russell City community that now lives in Hayward, Oakland, and several other areas. So thank you all for being here, and let's continue this work. We're not done yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Syra.
Thank you, Mayor. Cool. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to all of the work done by the residents and descendants of Russell City who came together for this difficult and painful process in partnership with the City of Hayward to bring these recommendations before us tonight. I also want to thank the Community Services Commission for having the city embark on this process and presenting us with a historical opportunity to model how we can begin making amends for past injustices and set a national example in the process. I want to thank staff for supporting this effort in earnest as the city tries to make amends. This is messy and difficult work. It's very convenient for the status quo to let bygones be bygones, but the pursuit of justice is not only worthwhile, it is urgent and necessary. I want to reiterate that this wrongdoing did not happen in the distant past. Former residents and their descendants are here with us tonight. And they've been our neighbors for generations, paid Hayward taxes for decades, have been our leaders and are our leaders in our community. All of this despite their generational disadvantages caused by being forcibly dispossessed of their land. So I hear the call tonight from Russell City in asking us, the City of Hayward, to reaffirm our commitment to the reparative justice process that we embarked on together with you a few years ago. There are some that disagree that the city bears responsibility for the county's neglect of Russell City, but it is a fact that we all benefit to this day from the revenue generated from the land that Hayward annexed, from when Hayward annexed Russell City. I also want us to be creative tonight in how we address the spirit and the specifics of these recommendations that have been prioritized by the Russell City Steering Committee. It's up to all of us to figure out how to thread this needle together, being mindful of our responsibilities to the entire city and the potential legal hurdles that we may face in pursuing them. I know and I want to acknowledge the effort that has gone into these recommendations, so I'm going to do my best to draw the connections between my direction and the recommendations that were put forward by the Russell City Steering Committee. My goal is not to narrow down these recommendations, but to find overlapping opportunities, like Councilmember Zermeño mentioned, for us to focus our staff's attention on making the most impact for the descendants and residents of Russell City. So without further ado, I've tried to break down my direction into I would say maybe 5 or 6 specific points to make it very clear for staff to take with and run with, and also for the community to follow. And I also want to encourage folks, our contact information is on the city website, and so as we proceed in this process, see us as collaborators with you as we move forward. Many of you have already sent emails, and I want to thank those that have reached out to the council. So 1, I would like to see technical support for the creation of some type of legal entity that descendants can independently steer. This entity should serve as the basis for partnerships with the city and the county and be capable of facilitating future benefits and programs in coordination with government agencies. These programs can look like things resembling scholarships, grants, mental health services, potentially receiving impact fees, and more. I bring this up because some form of community fund was the top recommendation of the descendants according to one of our attachments. And it's critical that we find what the appropriate structure is that achieves the intent of that goal. Is it a JPA? Is it a nonprofit? Do we need to pair an MOU with from the city with something like that? I'm trying to find the right structure that would offset some city liability while also providing descendants with more control over incoming resources. Creating an entity that can interface with government bodies seems very critical to achieving this goal, and would also position it to potentially receive grants from external organizations such as foundations. I think by putting these ideas together, we're achieving the goals of compensation, restitution, and rehabilitation, and this, to me, is tied to recommendations 2, 3, 10, 12, and 17, and I'm saying these here so folks can reference them later online if they look at the attachments. Number 2, I support the creation of a Russell City Cultural Commission to work on projects that fall under the satisfaction category and engage with descendants and residents to partner with staff to pursue many of the satisfaction projects. So just for the public's knowledge, and many of the descendants and residents here know, we're talking about education and documentation, storytelling of Russell City luminaries, memorials and commemoration. A lot of what has been called symbolic to me is still very culturally important for us to not repeat these mistakes. And I think it would be worthwhile for there to be a commission that exists that the city can interface with to help move a lot of these satisfaction projects along. A lot of the recommendations fell under this category, so just to name them, this is 4, 6, 8, 15, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, and 26. And I think this moves this from satisfaction to a guarantee of non-repetition. To me, that's more meaningful. Third recommendation, I would like for the city to research how a potential Russell City Land Trust could work with the city to dispose of public land in accordance with the Surplus Land Acts. I see this as a vehicle for potential restitution. The city has in the past disposed of public land to different organizations. I see this as a way that we could right some past wrongs. The creation of a Russell City Land Trust as a nonprofit public benefit corporation could be founded and governed by Russell City residents and descendants and would serve as an option for the city to dispose of this land. I would like for the city to provide technical assistance if this is a viable option in helping establish this. This kind of relationship would transform the land trust from a guarantee of non-repetition to a vehicle for potential restitution. This is also not a pie-in-the-sky idea. For folks that are unfamiliar with land trusts, just this month, the Segoriate Land Trust, which is run by a group of indigenous community members, received $25 million from the Katali Foundation to partner with the city of Berkeley to purchase land and bring it back under indigenous ownership. So I believe that the creation of an entity or a vehicle like this could help with the restitution process, and that's why I'm asking the city to embark on exploring how we might be able to interface with one too in collaboration with Russell City descendants. I would also like to say that a land trust supports the city's strategic goal of preserving, producing, and protecting housing. Putting land under community ownership preserves affordable housing, it protects tenants, and if paired and partnered with the right development partners, could also be the basis of producing new housing as well. So I want us to get creative here with this option. This would be under the categories of compensation, restitution, and guarantee of non-repetition, tied to recommendations 5 and 16. Fourth recommendation, I would like for us to create a menu of policy recommendations that are designed to prevent displacement and protect vulnerable residents so that these kinds of injustices cease to happen. Every time that we have an eviction because of rising home prices, I see that as a continuation of the pattern of behavior that led to the displacement of Russell City. Some options include moving forward with the rental registry as part of our strategic roadmap, implementing a tenant opportunity to purchase act so tenants have the first right of refusal to buy a home if the owner is selling it, updating our residential rent stabilization ordinance to include affordable housing units, developing a defined community benefits agreement process as part of our planning process. And lastly, I want to say when we talk about going to the state, the city actually has a lobbying arm, and so I would also like to direct staff to explore including pursuit of reparations as part of our state lobbying efforts, so it's actually part of city policy that we are pursuing dollars to bring down to support these projects. Okay, that would be guarantee of non-repetition tied to recommendations 7, 9, 14, and 19. I spent a lot of time on this spreadsheet, so thank you for bearing with me. Okay. Last recommendation before tying this up, explore opportunities to modify city programs and policies to provide restitution, such as offering descendants down payment assistance, concierge-level entrepreneurship support and economic development, reprioritizing queued capital improvement projects to potentially up projects that are in neighborhoods with a high density of descendants or residents, or creating or redirecting a percentage of impact fees in the industrial area that used to be Russell City to a potential fund, and exploring the concept of tax rebates, which I believe was brought up in the addendum. This all to me falls under restitution and falls under recommendations 11 and 12. I want to end by saying a few more things. We must engage with the county's reparation efforts in order to pursue these goals. I think that direction is fairly clear already. It's essential that the state and the county come to the table to support us in these efforts, but it's also essential that we keep this discussion alive as a city. The direction that I gave tonight is intended to synthesize and lay the groundwork for the highest rated recommendations according to all of you, the residents and the descendants that were surveyed. The city will need to develop an eligibility protocol or framework and cutoff date in partnership with the descendants and the steering committee for us to understand how to scope these projects in the budget accordingly, because we are a city and we only have so many funds. Getting the scope right here is crucial. My hope in putting forward this direction is to offer various options that speak to the material needs of former residents and descendants of all different ages. There's not a one-size-fits-all solution to providing reparative justice in this context. This reparative justice process is significant and meaningful work that I'm committed to seeing through, and I know my colleagues are too. For all of these steps, it's critical that we remain in communication with the descendants and the residents to ensure that we maintain the relationship and the working relationship we've worked hard to build over the last few years. Just to reiterate, and as Ms. Carolyn Johnson said, Hayward still benefits from the forced displacement of Russell City residents. It's only right that we continue to put resources towards seeing through this reparative justice process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
Thank you all for your time, particularly the members of the steering committee and the chairs, Aisha Knowles and Liz Sanchez. I would also like to recognize the CSC, the Community Services Commission, for the recommendation. But I also want to thank the members and the organizers of the Russell City Picnic, particularly Mr. Sam Neva. The organizers of this picnic has maintained this community over the years, decades. And I actually want to thank the Hayward Concerned Citizens who provided additional historical context and also a different perspective. We know this has been a difficult time, but I'm happy to see that you all brought forward recommendations for the council to review. I also want to thank the consultants and the staff managing this work, including Assistant City Manager Regina Youngblood. It's been a long road, but you all got here, and I know the road is going to continue. I also wanted to just acknowledge all the families that I've met over the years at the picnics and meetings, and just the fact that you are still here is just a really powerful statement and shows how strong your community was and is. I've said this before and I'll say it again, the city has to do something, and we have done something with the assistance with Sari's research group to help provide some of these recommendations. And tonight, I want to direct staff to reach out to the state, county, and federal government to come to the table to address the impacts of urban renewal programs. It has happened all over this country, and we need to do something. When reaching out to them, I would like to learn more about what are the laws that are coming down, but also how can they assist with community land trust and other recommendations that were brought forward. I believe we can lean on our community partners, businesses that are currently in the area of Russell City, and other agencies to review how can we create public and private partnerships on these recommendations, particularly those related to education, community center, arts, commemorative identifiers, down payment assistance, training programs, and guarantee-based income. I would also like to say this, and I would like to disclose this, that I have visited our county board of supervisors. I've been to their meetings. I went to their meeting last year. It's been a year, and I'm requesting again, the county of supervisors, you need to come to the table. When I spoke to the county, I supported their efforts of reparative justice, but also spoke to the need for them to include residents and descendants of Russell City. It's time for them to come to the table, and I hope the work you've all done so far by you, the Russell City Steering Committee, and the city can help guide them to come, provide the records, but more importantly, engage with you all. Thank you again for your time, and I look forward to moving forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for the recommendations you've already made. I want to start by acknowledging and appreciating the time and effort that went into this by the steering committee, especially Chairs Knowles and Moran Sanchez, along with the committee members and the former residents and descendants. Thank you. I also want to appreciate and acknowledge our city staff, especially Assistant City Manager Youngblood, for the role in getting us to this point. I know it was a lot of time and effort on everyone's part, so thank you. I appreciate that we've gotten here today because the city has taken this seriously with the apology, with the allocation of resources and staff time. So I'm glad to hear we're all in collaboration about that. Thank you. And I also, I don't take it lightly. I realize my role here tonight is to listen, absorb everyone's comments. Thank you for all the comments. And recognizing the importance of this time that we hold here today, knowing that, this reparative justice work probably should have happened 40 years ago. It could have been pushed to 20 years from now. But here we all are now, and I'm not taking this lightly. And with that in mind, my role is to be responsible for Hayward today and the future and make decisions that won't create new liability for the city, while also understanding our tangible past. Our past is sitting here today, and the harm done and the pain caused by residents and descendants of Russell City. So the next steps are to accept the recommendations as they were given to us and guide our staff further on how we move forward, and the reparative justice recommendations that were given to us, and including the rankings that were given to us by the steering committee. And I also hear the commenters comment about not looking for hollow offerings, that not symbolic offerings, but actual tangible offerings. So I will be interested in how we move forward there. And I think some of the recommendations will probably be more appropriate for the county to lead on, and I understand the steering committee is going to continue that work forward there as well. And so some of the work that my colleagues have mentioned here, I also support and would be interested in staff looking into, like down payment assistance, like education scholarships, definitely environmental justice and health initiatives for Russell City descendants. Of course, I support policy analysis to prevent recurrence in the future, and I appreciate my colleagues' comments about our lobbying arm to look at how that might come down from the state as well. I'd be interested in seeing if HUSD would be willing to partner on the education awareness programs. It should be part of the curriculum in Hayward. Students in Hayward should know their neighborly history and what was right here in Hayward. So I support the committee's intention to bring in other entities, like I said, like the county, perhaps the state. I know there are every day there are new precedents happening all over the country, and people making progress on this. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done on this. I also understand there's a lot of work to be done on identifying properties and paper, documents that are still to be found. So I think some of that work is unknown still, and the difference between what was paid and what should have been paid. And so I'll be looking for that and watching to hear where that goes as well. Again, in collaboration with the county, hopefully. So I hope that gives some guidance. I thank you all for being here. I'm humbled to be part of this at this time in history, and so thank you all for your patience on this and understanding that we'll just all work together going forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the person on the dais who is speaking last, I think by now you should know you have unanimous support for moving this project forward. But Aisha, you in particular, the work that you and your co-chair Sanchez have done are historic. And I am so proud that I get to be part of helping to move this forward. Some of you have such compelling stories, those of you that spoke tonight, and I know that there are others that didn't speak, and your stories also are compelling. But the Knowles family and the Johnsons, Nava, Aranda, your stories are truly, truly deep, inspiring, and heartbreaking. And my feeling all along has been we can do something about this, and we will do something about this. Some have said, some have said that they heard that some of the recommendations are impossible, but you church-going folks in the room know this already, that with God, nothing is impossible. all things are possible, right? And so, yes, you can clap for that. I'll clap for that. So my instruction to staff, and by the way, staff, you did a great job also. And, I personally, I think we have the best city staff west of the Mississippi, maybe in the whole country. We've got great staff who know how to get stuff done. And so my direction to staff is this, that nothing on the list is impossible, but we may have to dig deep. We may have to dig deep to figure out how to make it happen. And it may take a while, so your patience, please. But just know where our heart is. We want to make it right. We definitely want to make it right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have, so I agree. I mean, I'm in total agreement of many of all of the recommendations, and like what Councilmember Goldstein had just mentioned. I mean, I think you're not going to find a disagreement up here with the recommendations. It's just what are the short-term accomplishments, what are the short-term work we can get accomplished, and then what's going to take research and then resources to accomplish some of the heavier things and some of the more complex legal matters. I wanted to acknowledge. It comes at no surprise that the youngest member of the council came with a spreadsheet. I am going to ask him for that spreadsheet at the end, and I'm sure he's going to be forwarding it to staff. But because I tried to write it, I was keeping up with you until you got to the second row, but nonetheless, thorough as it was.
You can just say you agree with them, and then
yeah. But there's two of us, of course, that come out of the academic community up here. You have two professors sitting up here, Professor Cermeño and I, and we both work real closely with the school district and Chabot College and with Cal State East Bay. And one of the points I wanted to make, and this is a story that I know exists, and I know many of you know her, the one who has probably written one of the most seminal pieces on Russell City, Dr. Maria Ochoa, who has written extensively on Russell City. And one of the areas that I read in your recommendations was making sure that this history and this story is told in our schools, developing ethnic studies curriculum and making sure that this history and these stories are included. Right now, the state of California is putting together legislation and is now translating that into ethnic studies curriculum at all high schools. Ethnic studies curriculum is now a graduation requirement at all high schools. So now it's just a matter of implementing that curriculum and making sure that when this curriculum is designed and developed and taught in Hayward high schools, that this is a central piece in that curriculum, notwithstanding at Chabot College, making sure that this story, your histories, are embedded in the canons of the college and university. We may, yes. And I'm not going to do this just to, I say this out of all modesty, but just so that you know that this story is not lost. I have a student in this room right now, Les over there, who is in my ethnic studies class, who has taken this history as a research project in his class, right? So this is how it works. this is what we do, and this is the kinds of academic activities that we need to embed at every level in Hayward schools. So it's acknowledging this in our colleges and universities. I wanted to also accept the recommendations, and I say that, and I just want staff to know that accepting the recommendations, understanding that there's short-term work and there's certainly long-term work, and we know that, and I just want to acknowledge that. I also wanted to reaffirm my commitment to working with our academic partners. Hayward is a city of schools. We're even home to the Alameda County Office of Education, who coincidentally, trustee Aisha Knowles is also a trustee on the Alameda County School Board. And, I know that there was a school there, and it's, how can we tell the stories of students, and how can we preserve those histories of students? But by working with our academic partners, I do work with the Chabot College Foundation. So when we talk about funding and financing education to career pathways, it's looking at revenue streams at the Chabot College Foundation, at the Cal State East Bay Foundation, and at the Hayward Unified Foundation, finding resources for cultural activities, cultural projects, curriculum, and funding further research in this area that we can continue the work and support many of the work that we're doing here. Chabot College and Cal State East Bay, they both have ethnic studies departments that have great scholars doing some wonderful work, and we should use them. But also working with foundations, and I appreciated the recommendations around funding students through scholarships. The Chabot College Foundation and the Cal State East Bay Foundation should have scholarships set aside so that descendants of Russell City families could go to school totally free, fully funded, from community college to graduate school. That's not an impossible thing. We can do that. We have a system. There is a structure in the city to do that. And so I will be talking to the Cal State University's Bay President, President Sandine, the new president of Chabot College, and the superintendent to organize that. And I will certainly be talking with staff about that. I meet with all three of the leaders every month, and we will be talking about that. The other idea that I appreciated that you highlighted here was guaranteed admissions to Cal State, right? If you went to a Hayward school, if you graduate from a Hayward school, and if you are a descendant from Russell City, you should have a guaranteed seat at Cal State East Bay, right? And that's not an impossible feat. We can do that. And there, one of the, if we're thinking about education to career pathways, both Chabot College and Cal State East Bay could designate perhaps one academic counselor that works with descendants of students, or students that are descendants from Russell City. So it's a matter of just coordinating with Cal State East Bay, Chabot College, and seeing who we can designate to work with students that are coming from Russell City families. Another idea that I know Councilmember Andrews and I have talked about, and I'm also very mindful of not just, and I heard what was said here in the chamber a while ago when someone said, we want action beyond, naming of streets and parks and so forth. And Absolutely, and I understand that sometimes things like that often is done just to minimally appease people and then move on. But what I'm going to say here, that is not the basis of why I'm saying this. But I do think it's important that we do this. I think we designate somewhere in the city of Hayward a Russell City business corridor, cultural corridor in the city of Hayward. For example, we redesignate West Winton from Amador all the way to the shoreline into a Russell City corridor, where every corner we put historical markers. Every corner we put, if we can't rename the street, I've seen other cities where they have secondary street names, where we name different corridors of the streets after families of Russell City, where your family name will live with this city in perpetuity. And that would be a constant reminder that every time we drive down West Winton, that we know that we are on the Russell City corridor right into Russell City. And then in the long term, when we start to really redevelop that whole intersection of Hesperian and West Winton, just as we have in downtown with the big arch over the 5 corners, perhaps we put a big arch along the intersection of West Winton and Hesperian, where it is the gateway into Russell City. And there, in perpetuity, the memories and the histories of families. And up here, one of the things that we always talk about, and I have to appreciate the leadership of Councilmember Andrews on this, is public art. There should be not only public art, but public objects and artifacts throughout this particular neighborhood where the histories and your stories will live in perpetuity. And so those are I know we will be talking about this in the infrastructure committee, and these are things as we begin to plan and start to look at future projects in the city, these are things that we'll be thinking about and working on. I don't want to repeat everything that everyone said, but I am in agreement with a lot of the ideas that are up here. And I hope you feel that there is consensus up here with the recommendations given to us by your committee and by your reports. And I just really wanted to thank all of you for doing this, for spending time on this committee. Again, I wanted to thank co-chairs Moran Sanchez and co-chair Knowles for your work on this. And again, thank staff, Ms. Youngblood. Thank you very much. I know there was a lot of work, and I think you even came in the middle of this. And so thank you very much. And with that, I will turn to Madam City Manager for some concluding remarks.
Thank you. And I want to apologize to Ms. Sanchez because I involuntarily demoted her to vice chair instead of co-chair, so I apologize. I did text her earlier and apologize personally, but wanted to acknowledge her publicly. Staff, we were just talking, and I think, generally it sounds like there's consensus from the council to accept all the recommendations, but obviously there's still a lot of work that needs to happen. I think instead of trying to synthesize things at the dais tonight, we're going to go back, sort of put together kind of, I think similar, like an implementation matrix, and start to think about how we can consolidate some of these, what things are already in the works, and really sort of staff workload implications and also financial implications, and kind of where we need to really leverage other partners like the county and others to continue the conversation. So I think what I'm hearing is that the council would like to accept all of the recommendations this evening and direct staff to continue to work and to work in partnership with the Russell City community. And so I just want to thank the council. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening and for all of your testimony and I hope you felt heard this evening, because I think you definitely were.
And I also wanted to say, your work is done, right? Not fully done, but your work is done. And so we're gonna move forward and let's see what we come up with. And again, this will be a community effort. Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, I'm gonna adjourn for 7 minutes, take a break.
Recording stopped.
If I could have the council come back to the dais, that would be great. If I can have council come back to the dais, that would be great. Councilmember Goldstein. Okay. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Our next item, well, first of all, I'd like to re-adjourn the meeting at 10:02. Our next item is item 11, and it's titled PH 24-014, Streamlined Affordable Housing Overlay District, introducing of an ordinance and adoption of a resolution for city-initiated zoning text and map amendments to Chapter 1, Article 10, Planning, Zoning, and Subdivisions of the Hayward Municipal Code to establish an affordable housing overlay district to allow ministerial design review and residential development subject to minimum affordability criteria, and to rezone 3 properties subject to the overlay district as required by the 6th cycle housing element. This report, I believe, will be coming to us by Development Services Director Sarah Bowser, and I hear that this is going to be a fast item.
Well, we will do our best, Mayor. I am going to quickly turn this over to Principal Planner Leah Schmidt, who will present the item for you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and good evening, Mayor Salinas and members of the council. This is a presentation. I'm just going to pull up my PowerPoint and share my screen really quickly. So can I hear a yes if you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, awesome. So this is a presentation, as you just read, the very, very long title. It is a zoning text amendment and map amendment. It is related to the housing element. You may remember that the housing element, the 6th cycle, was approved by this council in February of 2023. And then it was subsequently certified by the state in July of 2023. The housing element contains lots of different sections. However, the 2 most relevant for tonight are the housing resources section, which included a list of potential development sites that meet minimum density requirements in order to support the development of low-income housing, and the housing plan. And the housing plan contains goals, policies, and programs that the city will implement over the next 8 years to remove impediments and incentivize housing development. Program H11 in that housing plan requires the city to establish a by right design review approval process for development on sites that were included in this 6th cycle housing element, as well as previous housing elements, provided that those developments set aside 20% of the housing on the site for low-income households. And then I just want to briefly describe what by right design review approval means. It's a ministerial planning process. It does not involve subjective judgment on the part of an individual. It doesn't require the adoption of findings or site-specific conditions.
Leah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are the slides supposed to be advancing? It's still on the first slide.
No, this is just my introduction. I tried to keep it. I'm putting a lot of information on one slide. So here we go. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Affordable Housing Overlay Ordinance. So the draft ordinance contains like purpose, eligibility criteria, application submittal requirements, and sort of all the typical things in an ordinance. For tonight's presentation, the most important information is related to eligibility criteria. So eligibility criteria would be that it's just subject to certain properties, 3, which I'll get to in a moment, that a minimum of 20% of the housing development on the site be affordable to low-income households, that the sites must clear minimum environmental criteria, which is outlined in the state law. It may not include demolition of existing housing, and it can be processed in conjunction with other entitlements, such as like a tentative map or a density bonus, provided that it meets the objective standards for each application type. Ministerial site plan review, again, what the process is we would screen applications for consistency with objective zoning, subdivision, design, and performance standards, and the general plan, zoning ordinance, and other applicable ordinances, such as off-street parking regulations, subdivision ordinance, affordable housing ordinance, park obligations, among others. So, you know, all the portions of the zoning ordinance still apply. And then standard conditions of approval may be applied to ministerial design review approvals, and standard conditions apply to all development projects and come from sort of adopted plans such as the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, city standard details, building code, fire code, reach code, among others. So the proposed affordable housing overlay, again, only needs to apply to properties that have been used in previous housing element cycles and were used in this housing element cycle and identified as appropriately zoned to accommodate low-income housing. That applies to 3 properties, and they're shown on the screen. One is located within the downtown specific plan area. The other 2 are located in the Mission Boulevard form-based code. It's really important to note that this overlay just lays over the zoning and general plan. It will not change the designation or the zoning on these sites. Rather, it just provides developers an option to undertake this ministerial site plan review process, provided that the new development is consistent with objective standards of the general plan and zoning and all the other sections that I just talked about, and that the development meets the minimum 20% low income affordability criteria. So an addendum was prepared for the housing element. It explored an addendum to the general plan EIR, and it explored implementation of the housing plan along with this program, and found that it would not, that the sites would be developed in accordance with standards set forth in the zoning and general plan, and that there would be no new impacts or an increase in the severity of impacts that were already analyzed. And another really important thing about ministerial design review is that it doesn't constitute a project under CEQA. These sites are all sort of under the 5-acre threshold of a class 32 exemption. So they are smaller sites and would typically be exempt from CEQA anyway, but it is important to note that ministerial projects are not subject to environmental review. And so with that, staff does recommend that the City Council introduce the ordinance and adopt a resolution approving the city-initiated zoning text and map amendments related to the establishment of a streamlined affordable housing overlay district that would be applicable to 3 properties, and the related environmental analysis that was prepared for the housing element. And that concludes this presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Before I go to public comment, I wanted to see if there's any public comment or any council comments. Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. Just one quick question. So this is just for these 3 sites. Do you anticipate other sites in the future? Is this sort of a way that we're going to do this in the future?
Well, as described in the staff report, because of how long it took the state to certify our housing element, we were forced to adopt this these zoning changes very, very quickly. However, city staff did anticipate that this would be a really good opportunity to think about the types of projects that could be subject to streamlined ministerial site plan review, smaller projects that, you know, are consistent with regulations. However, there just wasn't time to come up with a really good, robust set of recommendations for the council. And so, yes, this is a first step, and it will get us into compliance with the housing element and the state. And it's also a good opportunity to think about and explore in the next year or two what else could fall under this umbrella.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, I don't see any other comments up here, and we'll go to public comment. We have one caller, Peggy Guernsey. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Schmidt, what do you mean by ministerial? It sounds like it's a whole big religious thing going on, and I don't understand what you're talking about at all.
Ms. Schmidt, don't answer. Let Ms. Guernsey, we cannot respond to your public comment, but once you're finished, then we'll respond.
Okay, but my question is, how can I make a good comment or understand what's going on if you're using words that don't make clarity for me to understand what you're talking about by this ministerial? Like I said, it sounds like religion instead of housing. I don't know how the two are working, and I've never heard the word when we've discussed or done things with overlays like we did in the Mission Foothills Task Force and things like that. So I've got a real confusion as to what she's exactly talking about. And I'd like a little bit of clarity if that's legally allowed.
If you're done with your question, I will proceed and I will have Ms. Schmidt reply.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Ms. Schmidt, go ahead. In what context are you using ministerial?
Yeah, apologies for the jargon. So what ministerial means is that it's a process, and it means there's less time spent with staff reviewing a project. We don't adopt findings, approving it. It doesn't involve subjective judgment on the part of staff when looking at a project. So there's a checklist, like a building code checklist. And if a project meets the objective criteria of that checklist, then it gets approved. There's no adoption of findings. There's no special conditions of approval. It's just objectively meets the criteria and subject to standard conditions of approval. It's typically faster, and it isn't subject to CEQA or environmental review.
Wonderful.
That's what ministerial means.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so seeing no other public comment, there is nobody here in the chamber. I'd like to close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion or comment.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Syra.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Roach. And Councilmember Roach has a comment.
I just wanted to make clear, thank you for the definition of ministerial. I wanted to make clear that it has nothing to do with religion. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So moved by Councilmember Syrup, seconded by Councilmember Roach. Madam City Clerk. Seconded by Councilmember Andrews, I heard you first, but Madam City Clerk, we can vote now.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead and start. All right. Very good.
Little things. It's the little things in life that make us happy. We're readers. Item passes 6 yeses, 0 abstentions, and 1 absence. Okay. Okay. So move on to council reports and announcements. Any council and reports and announcements? Councilmember Roach.
Thank you. So in my weekly Did You Know from the library and bookending the city manager's comments earlier from the library, I wanted to add that the Hayward Public Library offers one-on-one tech tutoring sessions available at both branches of the library. These sessions are provided for anyone who has checked out a device from the tech lending library or anyone who would like general or basic tech support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Zermeño.
Thank you, Mayor. This Saturday, we are going to have a small celebration to honor Cesar Estrada Chavez at 11 o'clock on City Hall Plaza. Drop by for a couple of hours. There'll be a cake. We'll sing De Colores, and we'll sing Happy Birthday, Cesar, and then a little bit of Ballet Folklorico. So maybe I'll see you on Saturday, 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews.
I wanted to thank the Hayward Animal Shelter for their adoption event. I wanted to let you all know there was only 1 cat up for adoption. 1. So they're working really hard. Yeah, no. So I also wanted to let the community know if you are having issues with cats, please contact the Hayward Animal Shelter. Also, since the city manager already mentioned Earth Day, wanted to let everyone know so they can put on their calendar that the compost giveaway is happening at Sky West on May 4th and May 18th. So I'm sure we'll announce it again, but I know people are buying compost right now, so you might want to hold off for a bit. So just want to let you know now.
Thank you. And Madam City Manager, I just wanted to say thank you to our city clerk's office, say thank you to our Human Resources Department, and of course, Director Sarah Bowser and her team from Development Services. They were all at the City of Hayward and partnership with our school district and our college and our university with 30 other universities across the state of California for hosting college night here at City Hall in the Rotunda. There were high school students from all of the high schools in Hayward, in the Hayward area, collecting information on colleges and universities. There were raffle items. There was raffles, prizes, goodie bags, backpacks. I mean, it was pretty good. There was a lot of students here, and it was a great turnout. So please thank everybody for participating in that and doing that. So moving on to council referrals. There are no council referrals. Ladies and gentlemen, I adjourn this meeting.